The ballroom glittered with champagne flutes and designer gowns, but Kyung-soo saw only one person. Maya Sterling stood across the reception hall, her dark skin luminous against a flowing emerald dress, her natural curls swept into an elegant updo. 5 years had passed since he'd watched her walk away, and the sight of her now stole his breath as thoroughly as their first meeting. But it was the small hand clutching hers that froze him completely. A little girl, no more than 4 years old, with Maya's warm brown eyes and unmistakable features, wearing a miniature version of her mother's dress. The child laughed at something Maya whispered, and Kyung-soo felt his carefully constructed world tilt on its axis. The numbers clicked into place with brutal precision. 5 years since their last night together. 4 years and some months looking at that child. His chest tightened as the little girl turned, revealing a profile that held something hauntingly familiar in the curve of her cheek, the shape of her smile. Maya's eyes met his across the crowded room, and the color drained from her face. Maya Sterling had learned to build her life in careful, measured pieces. At 28, she'd mastered the art of single motherhood while juggling 2 jobs and a fierce determination to give her daughter everything she deserved. Tonight, she'd splurged on this emerald dress for her cousin's wedding, wanting Amina to see her mother as more than just exhausted efficiency. "Mama, can I have cake now?" Amina tugged at her hand, her cornrow braids adorned with small golden beads that clicked softly with each movement. "After dinner, baby girl, you know the rules." Maya smoothed her daughter's dress, her heart swelling with the familiar mixture of love and protective fierceness that Amina always inspired. The Atlanta ballroom buzzed with celebration. Maya had almost declined the invitation, remembering that her cousin had connections to the Korean business community in the city, but Amina had been so excited about being a flower girl, and Maya refused to let old ghosts dictate their lives. "Auntie Maya," her cousin swept over, radiant in her white gown. "I'm so glad you came. There's someone I want you to meet." Maya's polite smile froze as she followed her cousin's gesture across the room. Her heart stopped, then slammed against her ribs with enough force to steal her breath. Kyung-soo. 5 years dissolved in an instant. He stood near the bar with the same commanding presence that had first caught her attention, his perfectly tailored black suit emphasizing broad shoulders and a lean, powerful frame. His dark hair was styled with calculated precision, and even from this distance, she could see those intense eyes that had once looked at her like she was his entire world. The world that had shattered when his obligations to the organization had demanded he marry someone from a connected family, someone who wasn't a struggling art gallery assistant from West End with dreams bigger than her bank account. "That's Kyung-soo Park," her cousin continued, oblivious to Maya's distress. "He's one of Michael's business partners. Apparently, he's some big deal in—" "Excuse me," Maya interrupted, her voice strained. "Amina needs to use the restroom." But it was too late. Kyung-soo's gaze had found hers across the crowded room, and she watched recognition, then shock, then something she couldn't name flash across his face. His eyes dropped to Amina, and Maya saw the exact moment he started calculating dates and possibilities. "Mama?" Amina looked up at her with concern. "You okay? You look scared." "I'm fine, sweetie." Maya forced herself to breathe normally, though her pulse hammered in her ears. "Let's go find our table." But as she turned to escape, Kyung-soo was already moving through the crowd toward them, with the purposeful stride of a man accustomed to getting what he wanted. 5 years ago, she'd loved that confidence. Now it terrified her. "Maya?" His voice was deeper than she remembered, carrying that slight accent that had once made her name sound like poetry. "It's been a long time." "Kyung-soo?" She hated how steady her voice sounded when everything inside her was chaos. "Yes, it has." His attention shifted to Amina, and Maya instinctively drew her daughter closer. "And who is this beautiful young lady?" Amina, never shy, beamed up at him. "I'm Amina. I was the flower girl. Did you see me? I didn't drop any petals." "I did see you," Kyung-soo said, his eyes never leaving the child's face. "You were perfect. How old are you, Amina?" "I'm 4. My birthday was last month. Mama made me a princess cake with butterflies." Maya watched the calculation in Kyung-soo's expression sharpen. His jaw tightened almost imperceptibly, a tell she remembered from when he was controlling some strong emotion. When he looked back at her, his eyes held questions that made her stomach clench with dread. "We need to talk," he said quietly, his tone leaving no room for argument. "There's nothing to discuss." Maya kept her voice light for Amina's sake. "We've both moved on with our lives." "Have we?" His gaze dropped pointedly to Amina again. Because from where I'm standing, it looks like we have quite a bit to discuss. A server passed with a tray of appetizers, and Amina's attention diverted. Maya used the moment to lean closer to Kyung-soo, her voice dropping to a fierce whisper. Don't. Not here. Not now. Then when? The intensity in his eyes hadn't dimmed at all in 5 years. Give me 5 minutes, Maya. That's all I'm asking. Mama, I'm hungry, Amina interrupted, tugging at her hand again. Of course, baby. Maya seized the excuse gratefully. We should find our seats. Enjoy the wedding, Kyung-soo. She turned to go, but his hand caught her wrist gently but firmly. The contact sent electricity up her arm, her body remembering what her mind had tried so hard to forget. Tomorrow, he said quietly. Piedmont Park, the playground near the lake. 2 o'clock, please. Maya pulled her wrist free, hating how her skin still tingled from his touch. I have work. Then tonight after the reception. My car. 10 minutes. Mama? Amina looked between them with the intuitive concern of a child who sensed adult tension. Fine, Maya said, making the decision she knew she'd regret. 10 minutes. That's all you get. Kyung-soo's expression didn't change, but she saw satisfaction flash in his dark eyes. That's all I'll need. As Maya led Amina toward their table, she felt his gaze burning into her back. She'd spent 5 years building a safe, stable life for herself and her daughter. 5 years convincing herself that the choices she'd made were the right ones, that keeping Amina's father a secret was protecting them both from a world too dangerous to touch. Now, in one moment, one chance encounter at a wedding, that carefully constructed fortress showed its first cracks. Because she knew Kyung-soo Park, knew the stubborn determination that made him a force to be reckoned with in Atlanta's underground. Once he had a question, he wouldn't stop until he had an answer. And the answer to this particular question would change everything. Who was that man? Amina asked as they sat down, her bright eyes curious. He seemed nice, and he has pretty eyes, like the ocean. Maya's heart squeezed painfully. Just an old friend, sweetie. Now let's see what they're serving for dinner. But as the evening progressed, Maya felt Kyung-soo's presence like a physical weight. He didn't approach them again, but she was constantly aware of where he stood, how often his gaze found them across the room. When Amina danced with the other children, Maya caught him watching with an expression that made her throat tight with unnamed emotion. The night couldn't end fast enough, yet moved with agonizing slowness. Each moment brought her closer to a conversation she'd dreaded for 4 years. How did you tell a man that he had a daughter he'd never known about? How did you explain that you'd chosen to raise her alone, rather than bring her into a world of violence and obligation? The wedding reception finally wound down near midnight. Maya had managed to avoid Kyung-soo for the rest of the evening, though she'd felt his attention like a brand against her skin. Now, with Amina sleeping peacefully in her cousin's guest room, she had no more excuses. She found him waiting by a sleek black Mercedes in the parking garage, the harsh fluorescent lights casting sharp shadows across his features. He'd removed his suit jacket, and his white dress shirt had the top buttons undone, revealing the hollow of his throat. You came, he said simply, opening the passenger door for her. I said I would. Maya slid into the car, the leather interior carrying that expensive scent mixed with something distinctly him, sandalwood, and something darker, more complex. 10 minutes. Kyung-soo closed her door and walked around to the driver's side with measured calm that made her nervous. When he settled beside her but made no move to start the engine, the silence pressed down like a physical presence. Is she mine? The question came without preamble, without negotiation. Maya had prepared a dozen careful explanations, had rehearsed this moment in her mind countless times, but confronted with his direct gaze, all her practiced words evaporated. Yes. The single syllable seemed to echo in the confined space. Kyung-soo's hands tightened on the steering wheel, his knuckles going white. For a long moment, he said nothing, just stared ahead through the windshield at the concrete wall. 4 years old, he finally said, his voice carefully controlled. You were pregnant when we ended things. Yes, and you didn't tell me. Now there was an edge to his tone, something sharp and dangerous beneath the surface calm. 5 years, Maya. 5 years, and you never once thought I had a right to know I had a daughter. A right? The word sparked her own anger, hot and defensive. You were getting engaged to someone else. You made your choice, Kyung-soo. You chose your obligations over us. I chose to protect you. His control cracked, his accent thickening with emotion. Do you have any idea what my world is like? What happens to people I care about? I let you go because loving you put a target on your back. Well, congratulations. Mission accomplished. We've been perfectly safe without you. Safe? He turned to face her fully, his eyes blazing. You think keeping my daughter from me kept her safe? What if something had happened to you? What if she'd needed medical care and they needed family history? What if she grew up in a world where people settle disputes with bullets? Maya shot back. What if she learned that her father is a criminal? What kind of life would that be for a 4-year-old girl? Kyung-soo's jaw clenched, a muscle twitching in his cheek. So you made that decision for both of us. Decided I wasn't worthy of being her father. I decided she deserved better than a part-time parent who might not come home one day. Maya's voice cracked despite her efforts to stay strong. I decided that a stable, safe life with one parent who could be there every single day was better than chaos and danger. And what about what I deserved? The pain in his voice was rawer than she'd expected. Did I not deserve to know I created a life? To watch my daughter grow, take her first steps, hear her first words? The grief in his expression made Maya's anger deflate. This was the conversation she'd both dreaded and known was inevitable. Her first word was "Mama," Maya said quietly. She took her first steps at 11 months. She loves butterflies and wants to be a veterinarian when she grows up. Kyung-soo listened with an intensity that made her chest ache. Tell me everything. You said 10 minutes. Forget the 10 minutes. The profanity, rare from him, underscored his agitation. Tell me about my daughter, Maya, please. And there it was, the crack in his armor, the please that held years of longing. Maya felt her walls beginning to crumble. She's brilliant, Maya found herself saying. She taught herself to read at 3. She has this gift for remembering everything. She makes friends everywhere because she has this open, trusting heart that terrifies me. Like you, Kyung-soo said softly. You always saw the good in people. She's stronger than me, though. When kids at preschool asked why she didn't have a daddy, she told them, I have Mama, and that's enough. But it's not enough, is it? His hand moved across the console, stopping just short of touching hers. A child needs both parents, Maya. You're not available. You never were. I am now. The certainty in his voice sent a shiver down her spine. Whatever I have to change, whatever I have to do, I'm not walking away from her. From you. You can't just decide that, Maya said, even as her heart beat faster. The organization doesn't just let people walk away. Then I'll make them understand. His hand closed over hers, warm and solid. Maya, I let you go once because I thought it was the right thing to do. But I was wrong. All I did was deprive our daughter of a father and myself, of both of you. Kyung-soo, no, listen to me. He shifted to face her fully, his other hand coming up to cup her cheek. 5 years ago I made a choice based on fear. I chose duty over love. But that engagement? It lasted 3 months before I ended it. I couldn't go through with it. Not when every breath reminded me of what I'd lost. Maya's heart stuttered. You're not married. I'm not married. I'm not engaged. And every single day I've regretted letting you go. His thumb brushed across her cheekbone, catching a tear she hadn't realized had fallen. And now I find out I have a daughter. Don't ask me to walk away again, Maya. I can't. I won't. This isn't about what we want, Maya whispered. It's about what's best for Amina. And you don't think having her father in her life is what's best. I think having a father who might not survive the week isn't what's best. Kyung-soo's expression hardened with determination. Then I'll make sure that never happens. I'll restructure everything if I have to. Move into legitimate business, whatever it takes. You can't just snap your fingers and leave that world. Maybe not immediately, but I can start the process. He leaned closer, his forehead nearly touching hers. Give me a chance, Maya. Let me be a father to Amina. Let me prove I can be what both of you need. One dinner, she finally said. Tomorrow night, you, me, and Amina, in a public place. We tell her you're an old friend who wants to get to know her. Relief washed over Kyung-soo's features so completely that it transformed him. Tomorrow, where and when? Busy Bee Cafe in West End. 6 o'clock. Amina loves their mac and cheese. I'll be there. He hesitated, then asked quietly, What have you told her about me? Maya's throat tightened. That you couldn't be with us, but that it wasn't because you didn't want to be. That sometimes adults have to make hard choices. So she knows I exist. She knows her father is out there somewhere, but she doesn't know it's you, not yet. Kyung-soo nodded slowly. Tomorrow, then. I'll earn the right to tell her myself. Maya reached for the door handle. This doesn't mean anything, Kyung-soo. One dinner doesn't change 5 years. I know. but the way he looked at her suggested he believed one dinner might be all he needed. "Drive safely, Maya. Text me when you get home. I don't have your number anymore." He pulled out his phone, thumbs moving quickly. A moment later, her phone buzzed with an incoming text. "Now you do. Use it if you need anything. I mean it, Maya. Anything at all." She climbed out of the car, her legs unsteady. As she walked to her own modest sedan, she felt his gaze following her. Only when she was safely inside with the engine running did his Mercedes finally pull away. Maya sat in her car and tried to process what had just happened. In the span of a few hours, her carefully ordered life had been upended completely. Tomorrow she would introduce her daughter to her father. Tomorrow, Kyung-soo would step into their world, bringing with him all the danger and passion she'd been trying to escape for 5 years. Her phone buzzed with another text. "Thank you for giving me this chance. I won't waste it." Maya stared at the message, her heart aching with a mixture of hope and fear. She'd built walls around herself and Amina, convinced that keeping them separate from Kyung-soo's world was the only way to stay safe. But walls couldn't protect against the truth forever, and the truth was, despite everything, part of her had never stopped loving him. That was the most dangerous truth of all. Maya spent the next day alternating between nervous anticipation and outright panic. She changed her outfit 3 times before settling on a simple sundress in deep burgundy. Amina, sensing her mother's agitation, was extra clingy. Asking questions, Maya deflected with practiced ease. "We're meeting a friend for dinner," Maya explained as they walked toward Busy Bee Cafe. "Someone Mama knew before you were born. Is it a boyfriend or a girlfriend?" Maya smiled despite her nerves. "A boyfriend, but not a boyfriend. Just a friend who happens to be a boy." They arrived 5 minutes early, but Kyung-soo was already there, standing outside like he'd been waiting for hours. He wore dark jeans and a charcoal Henley that made him look less corporate, more approachable, but there was nothing approachable about the intensity in his eyes when they landed on Amina. "There she is," he said, his voice rough with emotion. "The prettiest flower girl in all of Atlanta." Amina giggled and hid partially behind Maya's legs, suddenly shy. "Hi, Ocean Eyes." Kyung-soo blinked, clearly caught off guard. "Ocean Eyes? That's what she called you yesterday," Maya explained. "She said your eyes reminded her of the ocean." Something soft crossed Kyung-soo's expression, something vulnerable and achingly tender. "That's very poetic, Amina. Your mama has ocean eyes too, don't you think?" "Mama's eyes are like chocolate," Amina declared. "Warm chocolate when she's happy and dark chocolate when she's worried." "And which kind are they now?" Kyung-soo asked, his gaze meeting Maya's. "Dark," Amina said matter-of-factly. "She's been worried all day. I think it's because of you." Maya couldn't help but laugh. "Amina, inside voices. Remember. But we're outside," Amina pointed out logically. Kyung-soo crouched down to Amina's level. "Your mama has good reason to worry. I'm someone very important to her, and she wants to make sure we all get along. So maybe we should try extra hard to make her happy, don't you think?" Amina studied him with solemn intensity. "Okay, but you have to like mac and cheese. Mama says that's how you know if someone's good people." "I love mac and cheese," Kyung-soo said seriously, "especially the kind they make here." "You've been here before?" Maya was surprised. "Many times." He stood, his attention still on Amina, but his words clearly for Maya. "I couldn't stop coming to West End. Couldn't let go of the places we used to go together. This restaurant, the park, that bookstore. I kept visiting them like they could somehow bring you back." The admission made Maya's chest tight. She'd assumed he'd moved on completely. Learning he'd haunted the same spaces looking for ghosts shifted something fundamental in her understanding. Inside the restaurant, the rich aroma of southern cooking wrapped around them. They settled into a booth near the back, Amina insisting on sitting next to Ocean Eyes because he needs someone to tell him what's good. The meal passed in a blur of surprising normalcy. Kyung-soo asked Amina about preschool, her favorite books, what she wanted to be when she grew up. He listened with complete attention as she chatted about her best friend Zoe and the caterpillar they'd found. "You're very smart," Kyung-soo observed, and Maya could hear the pride in his voice. "Just like your mama." "Mama says I'm smart because I ask lots of questions." "Your mama is absolutely right." He glanced at Maya with an expression that made her pulse quicken. "She's very wise." "Were you and Mama best friends?" Amina asked suddenly. "Like how Zoe and I are best friends?" Kyung-soo hesitated, clearly unsure how to answer. Maya stepped in smoothly. "We were very good friends, yes." "Why did you stop?" Sometimes adults have to make difficult choices, Kyung-soo said carefully, his eyes locked on Maya's. Sometimes we make mistakes because we're scared, but the good thing about life is that sometimes we get second chances to fix those mistakes. Is that what this dinner is, a second chance? From the mouths of babes, Maya murmured. After dinner, they walked to the nearby park, Amina running ahead to the playground. Kyung-soo and Maya followed at a slower pace, maintaining a careful distance that somehow felt more intimate than touching. She's incredible, Kyung-soo said quietly. Everything you told me doesn't do her justice. It terrifies me sometimes, Maya admitted. That openness. The world isn't always kind to little black girls who speak their minds. Then we'll teach her to be strong, to be smart about when to speak and when to listen, but never to dim her light for anyone's comfort. He paused, watching Amina navigate the monkey bars. Does she know yet that there are people who will treat her differently because of how she looks? She's starting to notice. There was an incident at preschool last month where another child told her that her hair was weird. She came home asking if I could make her hair normal. Maya's voice caught. That broke my heart. What did you tell her? That normal is just another word for common, and she's anything but common. I showed her pictures of black women throughout history with natural hair, scientists and artists and queens. I told her that her hair is a crown that connects her to thousands of years of beauty and resistance. Kyung-soo stopped walking, turning to face her fully. You're an amazing mother, Maya. Whatever reasons you had for keeping her from me, I can see that you've raised her with love and strength and pride. She's confident in who she is because you gave her that foundation. I did the best I could, Maya said, her throat tight, but it's hard doing it alone. Always being the only one who makes decisions, handles problems, stays up at night worrying. You're more than enough. His hand reached out, thumb brushing across her knuckles. But you don't have to do it alone anymore, not if you'll let me help. Ocean eyes, Mama, come push me on the swings. They both looked toward the playground, where Amina hung from the swing set waiting. Coming, baby girl, Maya called back, but Kyung-soo was already moving. Maya watched as he positioned himself behind Amina, his large hands gentle on the small of the child's back as he pushed her into the air. Amina's laughter rang out, pure and delighted, and Kyung-soo's smile in response was the most genuine expression Maya had ever seen him wear. This was dangerous, she realized with crystal clarity. Not the physical danger of his occupation, but something far more insidious. This was the danger of hope, of letting herself imagine a future where Kyung-soo was part of their daily lives. Her phone buzzed with an incoming text from an unknown number. Get the girl. Now. People are watching. Maya's blood turned to ice. She looked around the park with sharp eyes, searching for anything out of place. There. A black SUV parked across the street with tinted windows. Another by the park's north entrance. Kyung-soo. She kept her voice calm as she approached the swings. We need to go now. He read the urgency in her expression immediately, his demeanor shifting in a heartbeat from indulgent father figure to lethal predator. What's wrong? She showed him the text. His jaw clenched, and she saw his hand move instinctively toward his waist. Amina, sweetheart, he said, keeping his voice light. Let's play a game. The floor is lava, and we need to get to your mama's car as fast as we can. Can you hold my hand and run? Like a race? Amina's eyes lit up with excitement. Exactly like a race. 1, 2, 3, go. They moved quickly, but not frantically. Kyung-soo's body positioned to shield them both as they headed toward Maya's car. She had her keys in hand when one of the SUVs suddenly accelerated directly toward them. Move! Kyung-soo grabbed both Maya and Amina, pulling them behind a parked car as the SUV screeched past. Amina whimpered in confusion and fear, her small arms wrapping around Kyung-soo's neck. It's okay, little flower, he murmured into her hair. Just a bad driver. They're gone now. But they weren't gone. The SUV had stopped at the end of the block, and Maya could see 2 more approaching from different directions. They were being boxed in. Who are they? Maya whispered urgently. Lee's crew, the rival organization. Kyung-soo's expression was grim. They must have been watching me, saw us together. Maya, I'm so sorry. What do they want? Leverage. If they have what I care about, they can control me. He looked down at Amina, who had her face buried against his shoulder, and something fierce blazed in his expression. But they're not going to touch either of you, I promise. He pulled out his phone with one hand, keeping Amina secure with the other, and sent a rapid text. My people are 3 minutes out. We just need to stay safe until then. 3 minutes is a lifetime, Maya said, watching the SUVs maintain their positions like predators circling prey. Then we make it count. Kyung-soo shifted, positioning them so his body was a shield between the threats and his family. Because that's what they were, Maya realized with sudden clarity. In this moment, they weren't ex-lovers with complicated history. They were a family, protecting itself. "Mama, I'm scared," Amina whimpered. "I know, baby, but we're okay. Ocean Eyes is going to keep us safe." Maya met Kyung-soo's gaze over their daughter's head, and in that look passed 1,000 unspoken words. "Always," Kyung-soo said quietly. "I will always keep you both safe, no matter what it costs me." The sound of approaching engines cut through the tension, multiple vehicles converging from all directions, but these were different, more organized. Kyung-soo's reinforcements had arrived. The next 15 minutes passed in controlled chaos. Kyung-soo's men formed a protective perimeter, while simultaneously engaging the rival crew in what looked like a carefully choreographed dance of intimidation. No shots were fired, but the message was clear. Lee's people had made a mistake. Throughout it all, Kyung-soo held Amina, speaking to her in a low, soothing voice about anything but what was happening. He told her a story about a brave little girl who could talk to butterflies, and Amina, desperate for comfort, clung to the familiar cadence of storytelling. Finally, when the last of the rival SUVs had disappeared and Kyung-soo's people confirmed the area was secure, he carefully transferred Amina to Maya's arms. The little girl immediately burst into tears, all her pent-up fear releasing. "It's okay, baby girl. We're safe now. I've got you." Maya rocked her daughter, shooting Kyung-soo a look that contained both gratitude and fury. This was exactly what she'd feared. "Take my car," Kyung-soo said, tossing his keys to one of his men. "Get them home safely. Stay with them until I arrive." "You're not coming," Maya asked, surprised despite herself. "I need to handle this. Make sure Lee understands that you and Amina are completely off limits." His expression was cold, dangerous. "I'll come to your place as soon as I'm finished. We need to talk about security." "No." Maya's voice was firm despite her shaking. "You've done enough. This is exactly what I knew would happen. Your world doesn't mix with ours, Kyung-soo." "Maya, don't." She held up a hand to stop him, Amina still sobbing against her shoulder. "Not now, not in front of her." He flinched like she'd struck him but nodded curtly. "Then tomorrow. We'll talk tomorrow. There's nothing to talk about. This proves I was right to keep her away from you." "This proves you need my protection." His control cracked, anguish bleeding through. "Maya, without me you're vulnerable. Lee knows about you now, about Amina. Even if I walk away, that doesn't change." The truth of his words settled like lead in her stomach. He was right. They'd been seen, marked. The simple life she'd built was no longer safe just by virtue of anonymity. "We'll figure it out," she said, but even she could hear the lack of conviction. One of Kyung-soo's men, young Korean with kind eyes, approached cautiously. "Ma'am, the car is ready. I'll drive you home and make sure everything is secure." Maya nodded, too exhausted to argue. As they walked toward the Mercedes, Amina lifted her head from Maya's shoulder and looked back at Kyung-soo with red-rimmed eyes. "Bye, Ocean Eyes," she said in a small voice. "Thank you for the story about the butterflies." Something in Kyung-soo's expression crumbled. "Any time, little flower. Anytime you need a story, you call me, okay?" "Okay." The drive back to their apartment was silent except for Amina's occasional hiccup. The young man driving, he'd introduced himself as Min-jun, kept his eyes on the rearview mirror, vigilant. When they arrived at the modest complex, he walked them to the door and did a thorough sweep before stationing himself outside. "I'll be right here all night," he assured Maya. "You're safe." But Maya didn't feel safe as she went through the motions of getting Amina ready for bed. Her daughter was clingy and frightened, asking questions about the bad drivers. "Mama." Amina's voice was small in the darkness of her bedroom, her nightlight casting dancing shadows on the walls painted with butterflies. "Yes, baby. Is Ocean Eyes going to be my daddy?" Maya's breath caught. "What makes you think that? The way he looks at you, the way he looks at me." Amina rolled over to face her mother. "That's how daddies look at their families on TV, like they want to protect them from everything scary." "Would you want him to be your daddy?" Maya asked, her heart pounding. Amina was quiet for a long moment. "He tells good stories, and he smells nice, and he made you smile in a way I've never seen before." She paused. "But those bad people came because of him, didn't they?" "It's complicated, Amina. That's what grown-ups always say when the answer is yes, but they don't want to say it." Amina sighed. "I think I would want him to be my daddy, but only if it means you stop looking so sad all the time." "I'm not sad, sweetie." "Yes, you are. You've been sad for as long as I can remember, But tonight, before the scary cars came, you looked happy. Really happy. Amina reached out, her small hand finding Maya's in the darkness. I want you to be happy, Mama. All I want is for you to be safe, Maya whispered. Maybe we can be both, safe and happy. Out of the mouths of babes, Maya murmured again, kissing her daughter's forehead. Go to sleep, baby girl. Tomorrow will be better. But as Amina's breathing evened into sleep, Maya stared at the ceiling and wondered if that was a promise she could keep. Around 2 in the morning, Maya heard a soft knock on her door. She checked the peephole to find Kyung-soo standing in the hallway, looking exhausted and haunted. Min-jun stood a respectful distance away. Maya opened the door, but didn't invite him in. You shouldn't be here. I needed to see that you were both okay. He ran a hand through his hair, disheveling the perfect styling. Maya, I'm so sorry. This is exactly what you feared, and I walked you straight into it. Yes, you did. I've handled it. Lee won't come near you again. Neither will anyone else. I've made it clear that you and Amina are under my protection, and that any threat against either of you is a declaration of war. And you think that makes it better? Maya's voice rose slightly before she remembered Amina sleeping. She stepped into the hallway, pulling the door mostly closed. You've painted targets on our backs, Kyung-soo. Every rival you have will now see us as potential leverage, which is why you need proper security. I've already arranged— No! The word came out sharp and final. No guards, no protection, no inserting yourself into our lives and turning us into prisoners. Then what do you want me to do? The anguish in his voice matched her own. Walk away and pretend I don't have a daughter? Because I can't do that, Maya, not anymore, not now that I know. I don't know what I want, Maya admitted, her anger deflating into exhausted confusion. 5 years ago I made a decision to raise her alone because I thought that was safest. Tonight proved I might have been wrong. But staying with you, that's dangerous in a different way. So we're at an impasse. Yes. Kyung-soo leaned against the wall, the weariness evident in every line of his body. She asked if I was going to be her daddy. Maya's heart seized. She told you that? She called me, from your phone while you were in the shower. He pulled out his phone, showing her the call log. She said she wanted to make sure I was okay after the scary day, that she was worried about me. Kyung-soo, do you know what she said? His voice cracked. She said, Ocean Eyes, you should come have breakfast with us tomorrow. Mama makes really good pancakes and they help when you're sad. I can tell you're sad because I am too. She's 4 years old, Maya, and she's trying to take care of me. My daughter has a heart so big that even after everything that happened today, her first thought was to make sure I was okay. Tears streamed down Maya's face. That's who she is. That's who I've raised her to be. Kind and caring and empathetic, even when the world doesn't deserve it. Then let me help you protect that, not by locking you both away, but by being part of her life in a way that teaches her that she's valued and cherished and worth fighting for. He stepped closer, his hand coming up to cup her face. Maya, I know I don't deserve a second chance, but please don't punish our daughter for my mistakes. She deserves to know her father, and I swear to you, I will do everything in my power to keep both of you safe. How can you promise that when your entire life is about danger? Then I'll change my life. The intensity in his eyes stole her breath. I'll walk away from the organization. Find legitimate business. Whatever it takes. You can't just walk away, we both know that. I can if I find the right successor, if I structure it properly. He pulled her closer, his forehead resting against hers. You and Amina, you're my chance at redemption, at having something real in a life that's been built on shadows and violence. Don't take that away from me. Please. She already loves you, Maya whispered. After one dinner and a story about butterflies, she's already attached. If you leave, if something happens to you, it will destroy her. Then I won't leave, and I won't let anything happen to me. His lips brushed against her forehead. I love you, Maya. I never stopped. And I love that little girl in there who has your courage and your kindness. Let me be the man you both deserve. Let me try. Maya pulled back enough to look at him fully, seeing past the dangerous mafia boss to the man beneath, vulnerable, determined, and completely sincere. Pancakes, she finally said. Tomorrow morning, 7 o'clock. If you're serious about this, about being a father, then you start by showing up for breakfast like a normal person, not with guards or guns. Just you. Just me, he agreed, relief washing over his features. I'll be here. And Kyung-soo, if you break her heart, if you let her down, I will make your enemies look like amateurs. Understand? Understood. He smiled, and it was genuine and warm. I wouldn't expect anything less from her mother. He left then, disappearing into the early morning darkness, with Minjun following at a discreet distance. Maya stood in the hallway for a long moment, before finally retreating back into her apartment. In Amina's room, she found her daughter awake, eyes bright in the darkness. "Was that Ocean Eyes?" Amina asked. "Yes, baby. Is he coming for pancakes?" "Yes." "Good." Amina yawned, snuggling deeper into her blankets. "I like him, Mama. He makes you less sad." As Maya lay in her own bed staring at the ceiling, she had to admit that Amina was right. Despite the danger, despite all the rational reasons to keep Kyung-soo at arm's length, he did make her less sad. He made her feel alive in a way she'd forgotten was possible. The question was whether that feeling was worth the risk. 7 o'clock came with a soft knock on the door. Maya, who'd been up since 5:30, took a deep breath before opening it. Kyung-soo stood in the hallway wearing simple jeans and a dark t-shirt, holding a bag from the local Korean grocery store and looking endearingly nervous. "I brought ingredients for kimchi pancakes," he said. "I thought maybe Amina would like to try something from my culture, if that's okay?" The thoughtfulness made Maya's heart clench. "That's perfect. Come in." Amina emerged from her bedroom, rubbing sleepy eyes, but they widened with delight when she saw Kyung-soo. "You came. Mama said you would, but I wasn't sure because grown-ups sometimes say things they don't mean." "I always mean what I say to you," Kyung-soo said seriously, crouching to her level. "If I promise you something, little flower, you can count on it. Even if it's hard? Especially if it's hard. That's what promises are for." Amina considered this with the gravity of a judge, then nodded. "Okay, you can help make pancakes then. But you have to follow Mama's rules because she's the queen of the kitchen." The morning passed with surprising ease. Kyung-soo proved to be a competent cook, teaching Amina how to make kimchi pancakes while Maya worked on her traditional buttermilk version. They ended up with a fusion breakfast that somehow represented all of them: Korean pancakes and American pancakes, tradition and innovation sitting side by side. "This is the best breakfast ever," Amina declared. "Can we do this every day?" "Let's start with today," Maya said carefully, "and see how it goes." After breakfast, Kyung-soo helped clean up, while Amina watched cartoons, giving the adults a moment of privacy in the small kitchen. "I meant what I said last night," Kyung-soo said quietly as he dried dishes, "about changing my life, about being present for her, for both of you. And I meant what I said about breaking her heart," Maya replied, but her tone was softer now. "She's already calling you Ocean Eyes like it's your actual name. If you're not serious about this, tell me now." "I've never been more serious about anything in my life." He set down the dish towel and turned to face her fully. "Maya, I know I have a lot to prove, so I'm going to change it." "How?" "I have legitimate business interests. Real estate, restaurants, import, export operations that are completely legal. I can shift my focus there. I've already spoken to my second about taking over the organization. It won't happen overnight, but I can start the transition. Your people won't just let you walk away. They will if I frame it right, if I position it as expanding our legitimate operations and bringing in fresh leadership. I'm not abandoning them, just restructuring my role." He reached out, taking her hands in his. "I've built an empire from nothing. If I can do that, I can certainly find a way to be the kind of father Amina deserves." "What about yesterday? Lee's crew?" "Handled. I paid Lee a visit last night. We came to an understanding. He knows that you and Amina are not just off-limits, but completely protected." "So you threatened him?" "I negotiated from a position of strength," Kyung-soo corrected with a slight smile. "But yes, I made it very clear that my family is untouchable." "We're not your family." "Not really. Not yet." "Then let me earn that title." He squeezed her hands gently. "Give me a chance to prove I can be what you both need, not in some distant future, but starting now, today." Maya wanted to resist, wanted to protect the careful walls she'd built around her heart. But looking at this man, powerful, dangerous, yet so clearly desperate to be part of their lives, she found those walls crumbling. "1 month," she finally said. "You have 1 month to show me you can be a real presence in Amina's life. That means regular visits, consistency, being there for the mundane stuff, school pickups and bedtime stories. If you can do that, if you can prove this isn't just some romanticized idea, then we'll talk about making it more permanent." 1 month, Kyung-soo agreed immediately. "I'll be here every day if you'll let me." Not every day, she needs routine, stability, but 3 or 4 times a week. Dinner, bedtime, morning breakfast. Whatever you need, whatever schedule works best for her. They were interrupted by Amina running into the kitchen, her face alight with excitement. Ocean Eyes, can you tell me another story? Kyung-soo scooped her up, making her giggle. How about I tell you a story about a brave little girl who went on an adventure to find the most beautiful flower in the world? Is she a princess? She's better than a princess. She's a scientist who discovers that the most beautiful flower is actually hidden in her own heart. As Kyung-soo carried Amina to the living room, weaving his story, Maya felt something shift inside her. This wasn't the fearsome mafia boss. This was just a man trying to connect with his daughter, to make up for lost time. And maybe, just maybe, that was enough to build something real on. The next few weeks fell into a rhythm that surprised Maya with its normalcy. Kyung-soo showed up for dinner 3 times a week, always bringing groceries or small gifts for Amina, books about butterflies and science, art supplies, items that taught her about Korean heritage. He learned her bedtime routine, perfected the voices for her favorite storybook characters, and even managed to master the complex task of detangling her natural curls after bath time. More importantly, he was there for the hard stuff too. When Amina had a nightmare about the scary cars, it was Kyung-soo who calmed her down. When she got sick with a stomach bug and spent a miserable night being sick, he sat up with Maya taking shifts, holding Amina's hair back with patient tenderness. "You're good at this," Maya observed one evening after Amina had finally fallen asleep, following a particularly difficult tantrum about wearing a coat. "I had a good teacher," Kyung-soo replied, nodding toward Maya. "I watch you with her, how you balance firmness with compassion. You make it look effortless." "It's not effortless. It's exhausting and terrifying, and I second-guess myself constantly." Maya sank onto the couch beside him, suddenly aware of how close they were sitting. "But I love her more than I thought possible to love anyone." "I'm starting to understand that feeling," Kyung-soo said quietly. "Every time I see her smile or hear her laugh, it's like my heart expands to make room for more love than I knew it could hold. She loves you too. She started asking when you're coming over on the days you're not scheduled. She talks about you constantly at preschool. Apparently you're the coolest dad ever." "I'm her dad." He said it with wonder. "I have a daughter who thinks I'm cool." "Don't let it go to your head," Maya teased. "She also thinks the garbage truck is the most exciting thing in the world." "Then I'm in excellent company." They sat in comfortable silence for a moment, the television playing softly in the background. It was domestic and peaceful, and everything Maya had convinced herself they could never have. "Your month is almost up," Kyung-soo said eventually. "Have I passed your test?" This wasn't a test. It was a trial period. Semantics. "Have I proven myself?" Maya turned to look at him fully, taking in the man who had become such an integral part of their daily life. He looked different than he had a month ago. Less polished, more relaxed. "You've shown up," she said honestly. "You've been consistent and patient and genuinely engaged. Amina adores you. But showing up for a month when it's new and exciting is different from showing up for years when it's routine. Then give me the years to prove it. Let me be her father officially. Let me be part of your family for real." "Kyung-soo, I love you," he interrupted, the words tumbling out with raw intensity. "I've loved you since the moment you told me I was being an arrogant ass that first night we met. I loved you when I let you go, even though it nearly killed me. And I love you now, watching you be an incredible mother to our daughter. You don't have to love me back. You don't have to trust me yet. But please, Maya, let me stay. Let me keep showing up until you believe I'm never going to leave." Maya felt tears sliding down her cheeks. "You really hurt me, you know. When you chose your obligations over us 5 years ago, it shattered something inside me, like I was easy to walk away from. You were never insignificant. You were our everything. I walked away because I thought I was protecting you, but really, I was just a coward who couldn't figure out how to balance my responsibilities with my heart." He cupped her face in his hands, thumbs brushing away her tears. "But I'm not that coward anymore. I've spent the last month restructuring my entire life. My second is taking over most operations. I've divested from anything questionable. I'm transitioning into legitimate business exclusively. And if something happens, if your past catches up with you, then I'll deal with it. But I won't let it touch you or Amina. I promise you that, Maya. I want to believe you. Then do. Take a leap of faith with me. Let me be Amina's father and your—" "My what?" Maya's heart hammered. "Whatever you want me to be. Partner. Boyfriend. Eventually, if you'll have me, husband. But right now, I'll settle for just being here. Being allowed to stay in your lives. Maya closed her eyes, feeling the weight of the decision. Every rational part of her brain screamed caution, but her heart remembered what it felt like to love him. "Okay," she whispered. "Okay? Okay. You can stay. You can be her father officially. We'll figure out the rest as we go." The relief and joy that washed over his face was almost painful in its intensity. He pulled her into his arms, holding her like she was precious and fragile and infinitely valuable. "Thank you," he murmured into her hair. "I won't let you down, I swear it. You better not, because if you do, you won't have to worry about your enemies. I'll destroy you myself." He laughed, the sound rumbling through his chest. "I wouldn't expect anything less. You're fierce, Maya Sterling. It's one of the things I love most about you. I'm going to need time," she warned, "before we're really together, before I can trust this completely. Amina comes first, always. I know, and I agree completely. We'll go at whatever pace you need, and you have to tell her that you're her father. She deserves to know the truth." "When?" The nervousness in his voice was endearing. "Soon. Maybe this weekend. We could go to the park, have a picnic, and tell her together." "A family picnic," Kyung-soo said. "I like the sound of that." They talked late into the night, making plans and discussing logistics and slowly building the framework for what their family might look like. It wasn't perfect, and there were still 1,000 uncertainties, but for the first time in 5 years, Maya felt like she wasn't carrying the weight of the world alone. That weekend, they went to Piedmont Park with a picnic basket full of Amina's favorite foods. She ran around the grass, chasing butterflies and laughing with pure joy, while Maya and Kyung-soo watched from their blanket. "She's going to be ecstatic," Maya observed. They called Amina over when she paused to examine a particularly interesting butterfly. She flopped down on the blanket between them, grass-stained and breathless and completely content. "Amina, baby girl," Maya started, her heart pounding. "We have something important to tell you." "Am I in trouble?" Amina's eyes widened. "No, sweetie, nothing like that. This is good news." Maya glanced at Kyung-soo, who nodded encouragingly. "You know how you've been asking about your daddy? About where he is?" "Yes." Amina's voice was suddenly small. "You said he couldn't be here, but he loved me anyway." "That's true. And the thing is, baby girl, Ocean Eyes is your daddy." Amina looked between them, confusion written across her face. "What?" "I'm your father, little flower," Kyung-soo said gently, his voice thick with emotion. "I know we should have told you sooner, and I'm sorry we didn't, but I'm your daddy, and I love you more than anything in the world." The silence stretched out for several heartbeats while Amina processed this information. Maya held her breath, waiting for anger or tears or confusion. Instead, Amina's face split into the biggest smile Maya had ever seen. "Really? You're really my daddy?" "Really." Kyung-soo opened his arms, and Amina launched herself at him, wrapping her small arms around his neck with fierce intensity. "I knew it. I knew it." She pulled back, her eyes shining. "Zoe said I was making it up, but I knew you were my daddy because you look at me the way daddies are supposed to look at their kids." "How do daddies look at their kids?" Kyung-soo asked, his own eyes suspiciously bright. "Like they'd fight a dragon for them. Like they think they're the most special person ever. Like love." Amina's matter-of-fact explanation made both adults fight back tears. "That's exactly how I feel about you," Kyung-soo said. "You saved my life, little flower. I didn't even know I needed saving until you and your mama came back into my world. You made me want to be better, to be the kind of man who deserves to be your father. Does this mean you're going to live with us now?" Amina asked hopefully. "Not right away," Maya intervened gently. "We're taking things slowly, but Daddy will be around a lot more. He'll pick you up from school sometimes and have dinner with us and be there for important stuff. And regular stuff too," Kyung-soo added. "Not just the exciting things, the boring everyday stuff that makes up a life." "Okay," Amina seemed satisfied. "Can I tell Zoe? She's going to be so jealous that my daddy is so cool." "You can tell Zoe," Maya agreed, laughing through her tears. The rest of the afternoon passed in a blur of laughter and joy, Amina insisting on introducing Kyung-soo as my daddy to every butterfly they encountered. When the sun began to set, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink, they packed up and headed back to Maya's apartment. "This is the best day ever," Amina declared, from where she was perched on Kyung-soo's shoulders. "I have a mama who makes the best pancakes and a daddy with ocean eyes, and we're a family now." "We are," Kyung-soo agreed, reaching up to squeeze her small hand. "We're a family." Maya walked beside them, feeling something settle in her chest that she hadn't even realized was unsettled. This wasn't the fairy tale ending she'd once imagined, but it was real and complicated and messy and absolutely perfect in its imperfection. They had battles ahead of them still, Kyung-soo's complete extraction from his old life, building trust between Maya and him, navigating the complexities of co-parenting. But they had time now. Time to figure it out together, to build something strong enough to weather whatever storms came their way. As they reached the apartment, Amina already chattering about what story she wanted Daddy to tell her before bed, Maya caught Kyung-soo's eye over their daughter's head. In that look passed a promise, not just of love, but of commitment, of showing up, of doing the hard work required to make this family work. "Thank you," he mouthed silently. Maya smiled, feeling lighter than she had in years. "Don't thank me yet. The hard part is just beginning. I'm ready for it, for all of it." And looking at him, this dangerous, powerful man who was willing to remake his entire life for them, Maya believed him. Years had passed, seasons changing like pages turning in a well-loved book. The small apartment in West End had given way to a beautiful home in a safe neighborhood, with a yard big enough for Amina to run and play, and a studio where Maya had finally been able to pursue her passion for art. The modest wedding they'd had remained one of Maya's most cherished memories. Small, intimate, just family and close friends, with Amina as the proudest flower girl in the world. Kyung-soo had kept his promise. The transition out of the organization had been complex and sometimes dangerous, but he'd navigated it with the same determination he brought to everything else. These days, he ran a successful import business, completely legitimate, bringing Korean goods to the American market. He still carried the authority that came from his past, but now it was channeled into protecting his family and building something lasting. "Daddy, Mama, look!" Amina, now 9 years old and even more brilliant than she'd been as a toddler, ran up to them waving a certificate. They were at the school's science fair, surrounded by proud parents and impressive projects. "I won first place. My butterfly habitat project won." "Of course it did, little flower," Kyung-soo said, scooping her up, despite her protests that she was too big for that now. "You worked so hard on it. And you helped me," Amina insisted, looking at both her parents with fierce love. "We all work together, that's what families do." Maya caught Kyung-soo's eye and smiled. They'd had their struggles over the years, adjusting to living together, navigating the trauma of his past life, helping Amina understand her father's complicated history in age-appropriate ways. But they'd faced every challenge together, building something stronger from each trial. "Actually," Kyung-soo said, setting Amina down and exchanging a significant look with Maya, "we have something to tell you about family working together." Amina looked between them with sudden intensity. "Are you getting a divorce? Because Zoe's parents got divorced and—" "No," Maya laughed. "Nothing like that. The opposite, actually. We're going to have a baby," Kyung-soo said, his hand finding Maya's and lacing their fingers together. "You're going to be a big sister." Amina's mouth dropped open. Then, in typical fashion, she launched into rapid-fire questions. "When? Is it a boy or a girl? Can I help pick the name? Will they like butterflies too? Can I teach them stuff?" As they walked to the car, Amina between them holding both their hands, Maya reflected on how far they'd come. From that devastating breakup 5 years ago, to their chance encounter at the wedding, from the terror of that first confrontation with Lee's crew, to the quiet domesticity of their current life. It had been a journey of transformation for all of them. "What are you thinking about?" Kyung-soo asked quietly as they buckled Amina into the back seat. "How lucky we are. How easily this could have gone differently. But it didn't. We found our way back to each other. We built this." He gestured to encompass not just the car or their physical surroundings, but their entire life, the family they'd created, the love they'd nurtured, the future they were building together. "We did," Maya agreed, "and we're going to keep building it. Together, together," he echoed, pulling her close for a kiss that tasted like promises and hope and the kind of love that could survive anything. "Gross," Amina called from the back seat. "People are watching." "Let them watch," Kyung-soo said, grinning. "They're just jealous because they don't have a family as cool as ours." As they drove home, the Atlanta skyline glittering in the distance and Amina already planning what she'd teach her future sibling, Maya felt a profound sense of peace. Sometimes the best love stories weren't about meeting the right person at the right time. Sometimes they were about meeting the right person at completely the wrong time, and then fighting your way back to each other when the timing finally aligned. It was about second chances and choosing love even when it scared you, about building something beautiful from the broken pieces of what came before. And looking at her husband, at the daughter who'd brought them back together, at the future growing inside her, Maya knew that every hard choice, every moment of fear, every tear had been worth it for this, a family bound not just by blood, but by choice, by commitment, by love that refused to give up even when the odds seemed insurmountable. This was their happy ending, and their new beginning.